Hey there, Paul from Verbal here. We're building the biggest audio destination on the internet, where audio creators like you can build and monetize their audience. To learn more, all you have to do is visit verbal.com. That's VURBL.com and sign up as a beta subscriber. While you're on the site, peruse our growing list of podcast reviews to discover your next binge-worthy show. And now, on to Life Transformation Radio.
Welcome to Life Transformation Radio. This show is all about life transformations and our journey from where we were to why we are doing what we are doing today. We will discuss the hiccups, the roller coasters, and the blood, sweat, and tears that has been poured out while discovering our purpose. It is all about our transformation. Here is your host, Sean Douglas.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome to another episode of Life Transformation Radio. I am your host, Master Resilience Implementer, TEDx speaker, business positioning strategist, and international best-selling author, Sean Douglas. This show is currently heard in over 90 countries. So whether it's your first time joining us or you've been listening to us for some time, I want to thank you to those who are listening from around the world. Life Transformation Radio is all about our transformation. Here is where we tell the stories of why we're doing what we're doing, highlighting that transformational moment that changed our lives and how we use it to then transform others and elevate their lives as well. You can listen live right here on the Blog Talk Radio Network, Tuesday through Friday, 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Join our Facebook group at Life Transformation Radio Community, where we interact with the guests, interact with each other as listeners and hosts, and carry on the conversations live on the show. You can also subscribe and tell your friends about Life Transformation Radio, which is available on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spreaker, Spotify, TuneIn, Player FM, Radio Public, Overcast, Himalaya app, the Google Play Music app, Pandora, and you can also subscribe to our YouTube channel at Life Transformation Radio. Thank you for subscribing. On the show, my guests are entrepreneurs, speakers, business owners, coaches, podcasters, and authors, and amazing human beings that are impacting the world around them. And my guest today has done that globally. If you have any questions for any of the guests that I bring on the show during our live broadcast, go ahead and give us a call at 657-383-1109. Again, the number is 657-383-1109. And with that, please help me welcome to the show my guest for today, Brian Scudamore. Brian, welcome to Life Transformation Radio.
Hey, thanks for having me, Sean. Happy to be here.
I am extremely honored to have you on the show. Extremely blessed. You have been a powerhouse in the business and entrepreneurial space, and I cannot wait to dive in and learn the behind the scenes. I'm kind of a VH1 behind the scenes guy, right? Like I love to see the businesses. I love to know, like the backstory and all that, but also the behind the scenes, the nasty, nitty gritty, the grinding of all, throughout the years. That's what I love to talk about on the show.
Sounds like a plan. I love talking about the same sort of stuff. I mean, business is my hobby. I feel very passionate about growing 3 companies, 3 brands, and love all the lessons and hardships learned along the way.
Heck yeah. The title of this episode is From Ordinary to Exceptional with 1-800-GOT-JUNK CEO, Brian Scudamore. Brian is a serial entrepreneur and passionate people person. Known for pioneering the professional junk hauling industry, 1-800-GOT-JUNK, Brian started out as a scrappy kid in Vancouver, British Columbia, with ambition and a big idea. Since then, he's adapted the success of his first company to launch 2 additional brands in the painting and home detailing industry with Wow One Day Painting and Shack Shine. Together, Brian's companies form O2E Brands, a franchising powerhouse providing business opportunities to aspiring entrepreneurs across North America. His companies have been in the limelight for decades on shows including Oprah and CNBC. Brian is a regular contributor to Forbes, and his story has been featured in noteworthy publications nationwide. A strong believer in ongoing personal and professional development, Brian regularly attends programs at MIT. If he's not launching a new brand or coming up with a new big idea, he's brought another 101 life goal off his bucket list, hanging out with his family in Vancouver. To learn more about Brian, go to 1-800-GOT-JUNK.com. Check out all that has to offer. Go to O2E Brands.com. Those links are in the show notes, websites. You can go to Facebook and LinkedIn and send him a request letting him know that you listened to his episode of Life Transformation Radio. Brian, the first question I have to ask, and I believe is the most important question you could ever ask yourself, is why? Why do you do what you do?
I love what I do. I feel incredibly blessed to do what I do. I think my why would be really dreaming big and showing people that you can, if you imagine big ideas, you never know, they just might happen. And so my why is encouraging others. I get nothing more, no more joy out of anything in this world beyond my family than I do with seeing franchise owners succeed with a business, with one of our brands. So as you mentioned, 1-800-GOT-JUNK, Wow One Day Painting, or Shat Shine, it doesn't matter which brand. What I love is just watching people grow and develop. I love watching people achieve their dreams. So you'll get someone that'll, you look at right now, we're in this day of COVID and people being shut in and losing their jobs, corporate America, lots of transformation and change, and it's a challenge. But we're finding people that have always dreamt of running their own business are coming to us right now going, I'm not depending on corporate America anymore. I'm making a change. I've been packaged out. And they look to start one of our brands, and they want to emulate the success that those who have gone before them have achieved. And so that's my why. I just love watching things grow. I love watching people grow, and every day of it is just an absolute challenge and a gift.
I love it. I love how you laid that out. It took a lot for me in the beginning, my first business, to have a growth mindset. I grew up kind of in an entrepreneurial family, but I love researching. I love figuring things out. I was always taking things apart and put them back together as a kid. And when I built my first business, like I kind of knew the systems, but I was stuck in my ways. And maybe that kind of held me back a little bit. I was really fixed on, this is my mission. This is what I'm doing. I'm not going to deviate. I'm not going to, I know what I know. I have what I have, and that's what I'm going to do. And it grew, way over six figures, more than I could have, ever dreamed. It got up to 650. I was like, come on, almost 2 million. Let's go. But being in the military was kind of hard. But it took a long time to understand what a growth mindset person was. And it wasn't until I read the book by Norman Vincent Peale, The Power of Positivity. That book changed, because I was always focusing on negatives and always like, no, that's not what I want. And talk about the law of attraction. How important is it as an entrepreneur to be growth minded? Is there like a 80-20 growth to fixed, or is it like what is your opinion about growth mindedness?
Well, they say if you're not growing, you're dying. And
Yep.
I really believe that what keeps me going and excited every day with my life is watching things grow. At 1-800-GOT-JUNK, or even at O2E Brands, we use this expression internally, bigger and better together. We believe that as franchise partners, as our head office staff, if we work together as a team and we all dream big, we can accomplish things beyond our wildest dreams. And so even in the days of COVID, where business for March and part of April really went off a cliff, it's come back strong across all our brands. 1-800-GOT-JUNK is, in fact, ahead of last year's revenue goals. And so we are looking at this and saying, okay, COVID's hit, but how do we do things differently? How do we become bigger and better after this crisis? We've looked at it and said, this isn't happening to us. This is happening for us. This is a gift where we're able to say, how do we reinvent our business and do it differently? We're seeing the online component of our business, people booking jobs with any of our brands online versus calling into the call center, going up significantly. I mean, we're talking about 12 points of an increase in our online booking engine. And so there's a lot of good things coming out of this. That engine is very scalable versus the call center where we have to continue to add more people to our call center.
You ever seen those books and memes and one sheets and everything that are like the 5 things all millionaires do, or the 7 habits that all millionaires, all business owners, all, whatever. The number one trait that I see over and over and over again from everybody that comes on the show, the people that I talk to, the millionaire friends that I have, they all say the same thing. Number one, if you're not growing your dime, that's big. You got to be growing, right? But number 2, it's not happening to me. It's happening for me. I hear that all the time. I called up my buddy on Monday, and I was like, dude, you would not believe, man. Like 7 people in the pipeline, for launching podcasts and launching books. And then all of a sudden they're putting their project on hold. All 7 of them. Like, this is crazy. How did this happen? And he goes, dude, that's happening to you, not for you, not to you. I'm like, that's not what I want. He's like, doesn't matter what you want. It's what the universe wants. And he's got philosophical, and I'm like, sure. Like, this is great. And every time I call somebody, they always say, dude, it's not happening to you. It's happening for you. I'm like, how is that for me? That sucks. That was revenue I was counting on. He's like, nope, that's not how it works, bro. And they're always, all my mentors all the time. So when you said that, I got chills. I was like, dang, I just heard it again. It's not happening to you. It's happening for you.
Yeah, but Sean, you're right. It is absolutely true. People see the world and the events that happen. We can't control some of the crazy things that are happening in the world right now, but we can control our reaction. And so if I look at my businesses, I can say, hey, we're having a challenge with Wow One Day Painting right now. People don't want people in homes painting, but painting's not going away. Painting is going to be there forever. And we're not looking for people as franchise owners to come in who want to pick up a brush and paint, but we're looking for people to build teams and build an empire. And where we've revolutionized this model of the company's called Wow One Day Painting. We come in and we paint the home in a day. Speed plus quality together equal wow. And what we found is during days of COVID, people are still going to want their homes painted eventually, and they're going to want people to spend less time in the home. They don't want painters moving in for 2 weeks. They want a group of painters flash mobbing that house in and out in a day. It's going to matter more than ever. So our smart franchise partners are realizing while there was a hard month or 2, people still need exteriors of the home painted. There's no COVID risk there. And then the interiors, it's going to happen. So it's how do you see opportunity? Do you see the world full of possibility? Absolutely.
I love that so much. I love it. The focus of the show is about the transformations that people go through. And we go through a couple or a lot of transformations depending on, again, how your mindset is and how you look at it. And what I've noticed over the last almost 20 years that I've been building businesses is something happens that triggers that moment of spark. It says, that's my mission. That's my purpose. That's my Mothers Against Drunk Driving started because their child was killed by a drunk driver. A lot of businesses, something catastrophic happens and a business is created out of it, or a movement's created out of it, or a 501c3 gets created out of it. What is your transformational moment that changed your life and put you on the path of what you're doing today?
It's a great question. I think that I've had lots of transformational steps over the 30 years that I've been building O2E Brands. 30 years ago, I started 1-800-GOT-JUNK. And then 22 years into the business, I started Wow One Day Painting. And then another 6 years, I started Chatshine. So I've been learning as I've gone along, and we've made lots of mistakes. In fact, I wrote a book about all the mistakes I've made called WTF Willing To Fail. I wrote this book of my 31-year journey where I realized, man, I've made a lot of mistakes, but every one of them was a stepping stone to a better business, to better leadership, to more abundance in my life of all the things that I enjoy doing and the people I love working with. So I think one of the biggest transformational moments, one of the earlier ones, was 5 years into the business. I had with 1-800-GOT-JUNK 11 employees. There's that old adage, one bad apple spoils the whole bunch. I unfortunately had 9 bad apples. And I took these 11 people and I just said, I'm not happy anymore. I'm not enjoying my business. I'm not having fun. And so much of it for me wasn't about the money. It was about having fun, building something and making money at the same time. So because I'd lost the passion for it, I started realizing, you know what? It's because I've got these naysayers, these negative-minded people, and I had to do something. So I came in for our regular morning meeting, but I sat down with the entire team of 11, and I made a bold decision. I decided to scratch the whole team and start again. So I started with 2 words. I said, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that as your leader, I've let you down. I haven't found the right people or treated you right, given you the love and support that you needed to be successful. And this isn't working, and I don't know how to fix it. And so I'm choosing to start again. So I parted ways with those 11 people. But that next day, I realized, wow, what are the right people for me and my business? Optimistic, happy people. It was all about hiring happy people and finding the right people and treating them right. So while it took me months and months to rebuild my business, I realized, I think, that just the power behind finding the right people. And it was a valuable lesson that, although it caused me some short-term pain, my company wouldn't be where it is today, or my companies wouldn't have the culture that we have, this positive, energetic, fun feeling, if it wasn't for that dark moment of learning.
Holy smokes. I can't even, I'm picturing myself in the chair saying, I'm sorry. Finishing it with we have to part ways. All of you are fired, or I'm scrapping everybody. Everybody's got to go. And just being alone for that moment, everybody leaves and you're just sitting there in your moment and going, crap. That's what I'm feeling, is just crap.
No, it was awful. I mean, I had 5 trucks. I went down to just 1 because that's all I can drive at one time. I had to do the call center from my truck. I had to book jobs and service all those jobs while I was trying to rehire a team of people and rebuild the business. And it did suck. It was absolutely a miserable time. But you know what it showed me is finding those right people, really finding people that were interesting and interested in the business, who could latch onto my vision of taking my little company and helping us build the FedEx of junk removal. We went from that 1 truck to 2,000 trucks across Canada, the United States, and Australia. And it's been a blast, and it hasn't all been easy by any means. It took us 8 years to get to $1 million in revenue. I then franchised, and my first franchise partner did $1 million in revenue in his first calendar year. So he kicked my butt. Wow. And then I realized, wow, I've got a program here. We can find more owners, and now we do $1 million on any given day. So that flywheel, that momentum just started to propel. And then we realized, wow, we can parlay this into other things, other home services, painting homes in a day, shining people's shack, doing the windows, the power washing, gutter cleaning. And so taking fragmented industries and really adding a brand, adding the positioning that we are the leader, and off we grow.
I think that's very key that you had mentioned 8 years before you reached your first million. It seems to me that people want it now. They want it today. It's how come I didn't build $1 million business? I just started. I should be breaking in 1,000. If you build it, they will come. What's happening? I'd love for you to expand on that and the mindset where that comes from. I don't know if it's instant gratification. I don't know about you, but Well, I'm sure you say, I love the journey. I love the relationships that get built. You know, when I first started this show, I was like, okay, who's my dream guest? Like, who's my dream guys? You know, who's my guests that I really want to have on the show? And immediately I had Frank Shankowitz, the founder of the Make Foundation, on the show. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is incredible. I can't believe they said yes. And then Dr. Greg Reed and Tom Ziegler, Zig Ziglar's son, was on the show. Like, I mean, it just first like 10 episodes was like a dream list. I'm like, I cannot believe they said yes. That was awesome. You know, and people are like, dude, I've had my show for a year and I've never, you know, had them have that type of people on my show. I'm like, did you ask? Well, I really want them to do it now. I'm like, dude, there's a lot into that. So I'd love you to talk about that mindset where somebody just has to have it now, but they're not willing to like go through that journey.
Yeah. So two things in there. I think one is you never know what you'll get unless you ask. And then there's the instant gratification. So maybe I'll tackle the instant gratification first. We are in a social media world where it's just click, 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 and you expect to get everything instantly. We order on Amazon Prime, and we have it sometimes the same day, if not the next day. And people want the same thing with success, but the thing is you've got to figure it out. You've got to figure out the recipe. You've got to figure out what the customers want and how to give it to them. And so what people have told us they love about franchising is that we figured out the recipe. Now, there's two types of entrepreneurs. There's some that really love the making mistakes and creating and building something from scratch, like you and I. But there's other ones that say, hey, why not find that old wise man in the woods and learn from that wise man so I don't have to make the same mistakes that he or she did? And those people often buy a franchise, or they take a model and they go, hey, this worked for someone else. I'm going to copy that. I'm going to build that. And off they grow. And so I find that franchising has been a bit of a springboard to people where, again, Paul Guy, who was our first franchise owner who started in Toronto, he worked for me in my operations for a couple of years. He gets out there and starts the first franchise and hits $1 million in revenue. First calendar year. Was I excited? No. At first I was actually like, man, how come this guy is so much better than me? But what I realized is all he did was everything I told him to do. He took what I had learned over 8 years and said, if I want to do $1 million in revenue, I need 6 trucks. Here's my marketing program. Here's how I hire people. Brian's already learned about hiring happy people. And so he just followed the systems and off he went. And today he's got about $60 million in revenue across different franchises of ours across North America. So it takes so much longer to get out of the gates and really build it from scratch. And I think where people often go wrong is a lot of entrepreneurs get out there and start a business that they think is going to be one thing, but it takes so long before they land on the right thing. So look at Airbnb. The 4 founders, they get out there and they start a business renting air mattresses at the Democratic National Convention. And, what a silly idea that didn't seem like it had any legs. And it wasn't really that model that worked, but it led them to the Airbnb model that they are today, and multi-billion-dollar business. So it's interesting how we often get an idea, but it pivots, it shifts over time. My business was no different. And it's that learning that it was certainly a fun journey, but at times you're in it. You're just like, I'm not making money. I had a stack of over 10 paychecks in my desk in about 2000 that were all made payable to myself. And it was me paying my employees, but I kept keeping my own paychecks because I didn't have the cash flow to pay myself. And you struggle through it, but then it looks easy 30 years later when you go, oh yeah, we're doing well.
Right.
Overnight success stories sure take a long time, as they say.
I was just going to say that. Like, wow, what an overnight success story that was.
Exactly right.
People think that Uber just came, overnight. They woke up and we had an Uber. Like that's just, it's not true. They struggled for 3 years in San Francisco and a foothold in San Francisco. And my buddy Joe Polish talks about the first time he ever Uber and was introduced to the idea and like, what is this? You know, like nobody knows, like, what is this? Why would I do this? Why would I just call a taxi? What is this? But you look now and Uber's big and now everybody's the Uber of everything, right? You said the FedEx of junk removal. Well, everybody's, oh yeah, Netflix, the Uber of movies, and you know, DoorDash is the Uber of dropping off someone's food that they order from a restaurant and they want somebody else to deliver it, like the Uber of everything, you know?
Yeah.
But it didn't go overnight.
No, it didn't go overnight. And, you know, I mean, one of the challenges with Uber that we all know is, are they making money, right? So you've got to have a business that ultimately gets to a point. Now, I know Amazon was at a point where they were losing money hand over fist for years and years, and now look at them. So, you know, Uber's hoping to do the same thing, but the sooner you can get to profitability and try and be sustainable, that's certainly something that we've really tried to teach our franchise partners to do is, you know, you don't want to be losing money past the first year. You want to drive sales so hard and get the right people that this thing grows properly so that you can start to take a salary and then, you know, really not just, you know, build a little business, but start building an empire.
Yep. For me, it took about 3 years. The first one I built was an entertainment company, and I just started off DJing clubs and bars and weddings, and then I was getting overbooked, and I was like, oh, man, I need some more people. So basically, I hired people to the booking while I was, like, you were in the truck, you were doing the bookings, you were doing the calls, like you were doing everything, right? That was me. I'm in my car circling things in a newspaper like, oh, they have a wedding coming up or they got a, you know, whatever. And then I'm looking online and it's 2004. So I'm like trying to look online, like Craigslist, like what the heck is Craigslist? I got to check Craigslist. And started, you know, because there wasn't like a, you know, I think it was before MySpace, even. I think it was MySpace, like AOL was still a thing. But I'm trying to find places like, how do I do this? Like I'm calling Yellow Pages, I'm calling like anybody I can, but I'm getting booked at bars and clubs and restaurants and country clubs. And it was like year 3. I had 3 other DJs. I had myself, I had a videographer, and we had repackaged the whole thing. And I giggle when people are like, oh, come speak at my event, pay me or pay me to hire you as a speaker, whatever, like the pay to play model, and we'll get you speaking on stage with video and all that. Like, I just giggle because I'm like, we were doing that. like we would do conferences, big conferences in Utah when I was stationed there in Utah in the military, and there'd be a 500 or 700 person conference, and we would sell back the footage that we videoed. So we would video for you, absolutely. It was part of our package for us to cut it and chop it. And so I had a videographer and photographers, and I mean, it just grew into this monstrosity of a business. We were booked every single weekend, all over the state, sometimes out of state. And it was like year 3, it just all of a sudden jumped off. Second business, antique and collectible store. I was in the Storage Wars craze, and I bought storage units at auction.
Wow.
Around year 3, I was doing $4,000 weekends at flea markets. $4,000 weekends. I was like, this is nuts. Like, there's no way this is supposed to work like this. We had a brick and mortar store, and it was sell to brick and mortar. What didn't sell there went to the flea market. What didn't sell there went to the house, and my kids did garage sales every weekend. We'd do $600 garage sales every weekend.
That's awesome. So good.
So everything that didn't get sold at the garage sale would go to like Goodwill and Salvation Army and all that stuff. We just donate it, and we just kept doing that. And again, built hundreds of thousands of dollars in revenue coming in, with storage units and the collectibles and antiques and all that. And again, built a team. I'd go and bid on the unit. They would come pick up the unit, and then they'd drop it off at the store. We'd go through. I mean, we had a process. We had a system. And by the time that I built the third business that I have now, which is business consulting and speaking and training and podcasting and all that, it was like repeat success. Lay the foundations, build the systems, build the teams, and go. Except I did it quicker. So it was like year 2, I was TEDx, best-selling internationally as an author. I mean, it was like year 2. I was like, that to me, that's the success, is you got to build a team. So we kind of talked about that before we went live. So I'd love for you to expand on that, how, and you kind of did when you fired everybody. How great is it to have that team in place that really just gels and works so well?
Yeah, it's awesome, and it's not easy to do, but I think the simple trick that we've used is something called the beer and barbecue test. And so what we've done is we've said, everybody we interview, would we have a beer with that person? Are they interested? Do they have a shared passion in life? Are they somebody that we could see having fun together with? And then we ask people in the company, what about the barbecue test? After you've interviewed someone, can you see them fitting with the rest of the team? We're not looking for all extroverts or just introverts. There's a mix. We're very diverse as a company. But what we want is people that just fit. There's something special about when you come into the Junction, the head office, and you know private offices, high energy, and you look around, you're just like, wow, this is a great place. We want people to fit. So building a team, so much of that in my mind is finding the right people for you. Now, all businesses are different, but it's getting selective. It's getting picky and going, you know what? We want to preserve the culture we have, so we only bring people in that fit our culture as either franchise partners or as employees at the Junction. And sometimes people look at us and they're like, man, you guys are selective bringing franchise partners in. Well, A, we don't want to bring people in that don't have what it takes to succeed, because if they fail, ultimately you get too many of those, we fail. And the other part is we want people that see the vision of what it is we're building. I remember early in the day when I, probably 8 years into the business, hit $1 million in revenue, started to question, can I really build this business beyond that? I was in just Vancouver where I started, but I started to think, imagine if this could be built in all other areas, cities that are at least bigger than Vancouver. And there were 30 cities bigger than Vancouver where I started. So the theory was it could work in all those markets. I wrote what I called a painted picture, a vision of what the future would look like 5 years out, and I started to share it with people. And what was interesting is those who didn't see my vision and didn't believe ended up leaving the company. But those who really bought in and said, Brian, this is compelling, this is powerful, I want to be a part of this. We listed things like we're going to be in the Oprah Winfrey Show, the FedEx at junk removal, we're going to be in the top 30 metros. And people who saw that stayed on, and we built this amazing business together. So it's finding the right people, treating them right, but finding people who see what you see.
I love that. I usually try to capitalize on people's strengths. That's what, it just seems to work for me. I love the beer and barbecue test. That is amazing. I've just always tried to capitalize on people's strengths. Like, what do you love? And how does it mix in with what I do? I've heard it said that, and I really don't want to butcher this, it's you build the company around the people, or the people around the company, and the company around the people, or something like that. You have to build the people up around the company, or something along those lines. It's basically building up the leaders around you, and try to capitalize on people's strengths. That's all I do. It's like showing up at a good house party. It's usually not the house that matters in the house party. It's usually the people that are inside. And you look around and you're just like, man, there's some chemistry here. This is just a great place to be. We want to make sure that we invite the right guests into our party. And I think that's the secret sauce. I love it. And then a show called Hoarders comes out. And what do you see? How'd that come about? You know what, Sean? Sorry, you're cutting out a little bit. I don't know if it's my phone or yours. My apologies. No worries. It's been doing it on and off throughout the podcast, but now it got a little worse. I didn't hear your question. So a show called Hoarders came out, and I was curious how that came about. How did that come to be? So Hoarders, on the show. Yeah, so we have always gotten out there and gone after free press. And it started back in the day when I reached out to the Vancouver province, the biggest local newspaper in Vancouver, and I said, I got a story to tell you. And I talked about how I was a student and I couldn't find
my own job. I created my own. I ultimately dropped out of college, all that sort of stuff. And they liked the story, and they featured us. And we ended up with a picture of us and my truck on the side of the newspaper, front page. And so free press has always been a big driver of ours. Oprah Winfrey, CNN, Wall Street Journal, you name it. And so one of our PR wizards went out there and said, you know what, there's the show Hoarders that just came out. That would be such a perfect fit for us. And they pitched us as being almost a character in the show. And so 1-800-GOT-JUNK was on like every episode for 7 years. We got paid to haul the junk. We were featured on the show, and rerun after rerun, 1-800-GOT-JUNK was famous. And it's been amazing. So the power of free press, you can get out there and tell your story with such passion that people will get excited seeing that third-party credibility. If I get out there and tell my story, it's very different than the Wall Street Journal or A&E telling the story or Extreme Home Makeover telling our story. And it really has helped to drive or propel the brand forward.
Love it. How have you been able to elevate the world around you over the years?
You know, elevating the world, I think that, you know, I play such a small part in the growth of my business. We've got 150 franchise partners in 1-800-GOT-JUNK, another 100 across Wow and Day Painting and Shack Shine. We've got thousands of employees across all the brands. And I play a very small role, but I think what we do to elevate people and make the world a better place, hiring happy people, treating them right. You know, it's about, as we talked earlier, finding out what are people's dreams and how can that dream fit with our business? How can our business help them accomplish their goals and what their why is? I feel that we elevate the world by just playing in a positive space. There's too much negativity in this world, lots of bad news. We show up and we're not talking about bad stuff. We're talking about all the possibilities in the world. No matter what is going on, we want to be part of good news. We want to make the world a better place. There's a lot of talk, great talk about diversity right now, and there's different opinions and a lot of conflict out there. But what we're doing is we're just saying, how do we listen? How do we learn? And how is our business a conduit for helping to make the world a better, more inclusive, more diverse place? And so we have fun. We see the business as a way, an outlet, if you will, to be creative, make the world a better place, have fun. And I think that all that positive energy just propels everything forward. And, you know, when we don't just focus on the growth of the business, but we focus on a better world, bigger and better together, having more fun, making a difference, man, the profits just start flowing in to the point that we're all like, gee, where did this come from? And it's pretty fun to do business that way.
I love it. I love it. Is your book available on Amazon?
It is. WTF Willing To Fail. A good story of 30 years of mistakes. What's interesting there about that book is that when my co-author, good friend and business partner of ours, Roy H. Williams, he's known as the Wizard of Ads, and he writes all our radio creative across the brands. And when we wrote the book together, I kept struggling with what the title was going to be. He said, write the book. We're going to tell the stories. When we're done the manuscript, the title will jump out at us. And I said, I'm a branding guy. 1-800-GOT-JUNK, Shack Shine. It's always starting with the name. He said, no, it's not how it works in the book business. And so we wrote the story, and then sure enough, he was right. I was like, man, I've made a lot of mistakes here. But, you know, the pattern was I was always willing to fail. I was willing to make mistakes and then learn from them. Every mistake got me to a bigger, better place. So there was the title, and Roy was right. WTF, Willing to Fail.
Love it. After reading John Maxwell's book, Failing Forward, I got a whole other appreciation for failure, I guess. I was raised that do not fail. And in the military, it's not, you cannot fail in the military. There is no failure. You fail, people die. So reading this book, I'm like, oh, geez, man, like I'm supposed to appreciate failure, you know? But applying that as I grow older is just absolutely, it's a game changer. You know, I'm not afraid to fail, which makes me more bolder, which makes me a little more wiser when I do make those mistakes, but I know how to fix them. So it's just a level of appreciation, I guess. As we start to close.
Sorry, I was just going to say, there's a difference, though. I think that failure, is it really failure? It's failure if you don't fix it, if you don't learn from it, if you don't stretch your mind and grow. And so that's where making mistakes in the military, yes, you don't want it to be a life and death mistake, but whatever you do, the communication, the leadership mistakes, it's still learning from those so that you can be better next time around.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I agree. As we start to close the show, what's the message? What's the takeaway? What's the red thread that you want to leave the listeners with?
I think that people can do anything they set their mind to. Believe in yourself, believe in the possibilities you dream up, and figure out a way to make it happen. If it's starting a business, are you going to be an entrepreneur who builds from scratch and makes a lot of mistakes, but ultimately learns and grows? Are you going to be an entrepreneur who's going to start a franchise and learn from someone else's mistakes and not reinvent the wheel? Or how can you improve yourself in your life, your family, your career? I think that, what you and I probably have in common is this constant drive to be better and grow, and that we're rewarded watching others grow. So the message to me is, anything is possible. Dream big, and you never know what might just actually happen.
I love it. Absolutely love it. Thank you so much for coming on the show. This has been an absolute honor to spend time with you. I know you're a super big guy, and I want to be respectful of your time. Is there anything else that you want to leave the listeners with? Anything we didn't cover?
No, I love meeting great people and hearing other people's stories. So if anyone ever wants to reach out and connect through any of the social media channels out there, we love building businesses. We love helping people build businesses. And we're on a mission really to inspire entrepreneurship everywhere. So love the opportunity to have been on your show, and a lot of fun, a lot of great questions. So thank you for including me, Sean.
Thank you again for your time and the service that you've given to entrepreneurs everywhere. It's absolutely mind blowing once I dig in, and you're just so into it. This is your thing. This is your love. This is your, like you said, this is my hobby. This is what I love to do. So you inspire me. Absolutely, you inspire me.
Awesome. Well, hey, if we all inspire each other, what an amazing world this can be, right? So thank you for having me on your high energy, super fun podcast.
Thank you so much. Life Transformation Radio listeners, an amazing guest impacting the world around him. If anything resonated with our conversation today on Life Transformation Radio with Brian Scudamore, please reach out to him at O2E Brands.com. It's in the show notes. 1-800-GOT-JUNK.com. Check that out. See what they got going on. And the Facebook and LinkedIn links are right there. Click on those. Send a friend request, letting them know that you listened to his episode of Life Transformation Radio. As I close the show, I always say, live your brand. Find opportunities every day to live out the core values that you hold deep in your heart. And I call this living your brand. So until next episode, live a great life.